Welcome to the Marketing Stir podcast by Stirista, probably the most entertaining marketing podcast you're going to put in your ears. I'm Jared Walls, associate producer and Stirista's creative copy manager. The goal of this podcast is to chat with industry leaders to get their take on the current challenges of the market, but also have a little fun along the way. In this episode, Vincent and Ajay talk to Ryan Hartman, Senior Vice President of Paid Media at the Zebra. He shares the moves they made to differentiate themselves as a brand, why they decided to relocate to Austin from Pittsburgh, and how he came to follow the mantra, sales overnight, brand over time. AJ's having a good day, and Vincent is afraid of getting slapped in the face. Give it a listen.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's me. You hear my voice. It must mean one thing and one thing only. Another episode of the Marketing Stir. I, of course, am Vincent Petrofessa, the Vice President of B2B Products and your co-host for the Marketing Stir, brought to you by Stirista. Stirista, what? Who are they? Stirista, we're an identity marketing company. We have our own B2B and B2C databases. From those databases, we help our customers a variety of different marketing solutions. Send us your first-party data. We'll enhance it, enrich it. We will model it. We will then go after customers who look just like that. Get you new customers. Who doesn't want new customers? Maybe Amazon, probably the only one who's like, slow it down a little bit. That's what we do. We have our own DSP. We execute media, OTT, CTV. Call me, email me, Vincent@Stirista.com. Let's get that out of the way. More importantly, my co-host. He is shotgun in our work partnership. I ride shotgun to him, ladies and gentlemen. He is all the way from San Antonio, Texas. My co-host, the CEO of Stirista, Mr. Ajay Gupta. What's going on, Ajay?
Hey, Vincent. Good start to the day so far. I've done two really good demos, and coming into this podcast, I'm in a good mood.
I love it. We love when you're in a good mood. I'm always in a good mood. If I'm not, that means someone must have slapped me in the face on the street, which is very possible here in New York City.
Pretty rare, though.
Yeah, rare in San Antonio, but rare that I'm unhappy, but not so rare. People just randomly slapping you in New York City. Yay, get me out of the city. I'm kidding. I love it. Anyway, what I also love is doing this podcast with you. And I also love it because of the guests that we have on the podcast. We're so fortunate to get so many great guests, and this is one of them. Ladies and gentlemen, we have someone from the Zebra. Have you ever heard of the Zebra? You might have seen some of the commercials. You might have seen online. You might have, when you're searching for your insurance, car insurance, use the Zebra. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the Senior Vice President of Paid Media at the Zebra, Ryan Hartman. What's going on, Ryan?
Hey, how's it going? Happy to be here.
We're happy to have you. You're calling in from Austin, Texas, right next door to San Antonio. It's, thank you for taking the time out with us. Ryan, I probably didn't do it justice, but for those of the people listening, they're marketing professionals, business professionals, but they also drive and they need your services. So tell people about the Zebra, and then I'd love to hear about your role specifically.
Sure. So the Zebra, we're the largest insurance comparison site in the US. So we were founded in 2012, kind of involved out of an incubator type situation in Pittsburgh. And then quickly, one of the investors mentioned that the company should start doing business in Austin because of the startup scene in Austin and just the great talent that has been flocking to Austin. So we've been in Austin for a number of years now. So we provide car insurance for the most part, options for users. We don't underwrite, so we are not like the carriers, but we give you options, much like a kayak from the travel industry. We've also are in home insurance, and we've got our eyes set on a few new verticals too. So 2021 should be pretty big for us. My role specifically at the Zebra, and oddly enough, I don't even know how this happened, but my background is in insurance marketing. I spent a number of years at Geico and Esurance, and I found my way back into the industry after I'd taken a little bit of a break. So I moved to Austin about 3 years ago. I've been at the company for about 3 years. My role is to basically manage all of our paid advertising efforts. So if you see a TV ad, that comes from my team. If you see a podcast ad, that comes from my team. We do everything from digital to offline. The only thing that we really haven't done yet is out of home and direct mail. Those are all on the table for 2021 because we've got very aggressive growth goals in 2021. So yeah, that's a bit about the company. I was employee 50-ish. I think we're up to about 280 now.
Wow.
So incredible growth in the 3 years I've been here.
And Ryan, I just want to, you said something there where, and I know the background. It's been insurance marketing. What brought you into insurance marketing? You just you love to feel safe, love to make other people feel safe. What's kind of the background there?
Yeah, so I don't know how I ended up in such a sexy industry of insurance. Back in college, I studied marketing, and I always wanted to be on the advertising side of things. And I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to do commercials, and I think Geico's got great commercials. I'm going to join their advertising team. And little did I know, they don't really hire anyone to be on their advertising team. They farm that out to the great agencies like Martin Agency. But I met someone at a career fair, and they told me about this management development program. So I did this management development program for about 1.5 years in Fredericksburg, Virginia, and I really learned a lot about insurance. I even got my property and casualty license, which is long since expired since I haven't kept up with my continuing education. But yeah, it was funny because I remember getting right out of college. I was pumped not to have to study again, and the first thing we did is they gave me 3 textbooks and said, learn how to get your property and casualty license. So that was interesting. But anyway, so after I kind of graduated from that management development program, I landed a job at corporate based in DC, right on the cusp of DC, Maryland. And I started off in the digital media department at Geico. This was back in 2006, and there were 3 of us at that time. So it was a crazy time to join. In fact, I remember in my interview, the director of online was giving me some questions. He's like, do you know what a pixel is? And I have no idea. So I kind of lucked into getting that job, but I definitely started at the lower level, kind of worked my way up and spent over 6 years there. And by the end, I was managing all of Geico's digital marketing efforts and had a team of about 6 or 7 at that point, spending gobs of money, as you can imagine, working at Geico. Nothing close to what they were doing on the TV side, but the digital part was definitely the growing side. And then after that, I got poached in a background sort of way through some contacts I knew at Esurance. So I went to Esurance and I led their digital marketing team for about 4 years. Was there during the 2012 acquisition where Allstate bought them. So it was a fun time. It was, Esurance was kind of startup-y. It's what I enjoyed. I loved the entrepreneurial spirit of it. So yeah, I did that for about 4.5 years. Then I thought I was done with insurance. I wasn't really felt like I was challenged that much anymore. I had the exact same role basically at Geico and at Allstate, same KPIs, working with the same vendors. So I thought I was kind of retired, and I tried my skills at an apparel company, a custom apparel company. In fact, the shirt I'm wearing that we were just talking about, Vincent, is from Custom Ink. So shout out to Custom Ink, my previous company. Did that for about 2.5 years, led the digital team. And then through just my contacts in the insurance industry that I'd built over 12 years or so, I got connected to the Zebra. And Austin was always on a short list of places I would ever consider moving to. So I flew down to Austin in 2017, met with the founders, met with Keith, who's our CEO now, who came over a month before I flew down from being the president of Kayak, and met with everyone, and it seemed great, and it got me back to my roots, and I enjoyed the challenge of building something at a startup. So I picked up my bags and moved to Austin, and been here ever since.
Great. So Ryan, I know you guys are growing pretty fast and you have some aggressive goals. What is it that you track kind of month to month, year to year? What are some of the KPIs that you get assigned?
Yeah, for my team, the biggest 2 numbers that we look at is top line growth, so top line revenue. And ROMI, which is, most of the people on the phone probably say return on ad spend, ROAS, what we call it, return on marketing investment. Those are the two things we look at. So I'm tasked with making sure the top line is healthy. Obviously, the board cares about top line growth, but also becoming profitable. So as a startup, it can take a while to get into the black there. But I'm actually, hopefully I'm allowed to say this, but we actually turned a profit in August. So August and September have been our two profitable months. So when you consider we grew 120% year over year and now we're profitable, it starts to tell a pretty compelling story.
So you'd say maybe perhaps the COVID actually helped you guys in that sense, or do you think it's unrelated?
You know what? The answer is yes to that, and I kind of hate saying that because it's such a pandemic that no one likes to talk about, and it's really changed the lives of everyone. But yeah, I mean, the good thing about being in insurance is it's somewhat recession proof. I was at Geico back in 2007, 2008. And they had record profit years those years. I mean, we have a product that can save people money. And so when people are unfortunately out of work due to unforeseen circumstances like COVID, they look to places where they could save money. And auto insurance, as you all know, is very prevalent in the market. You see insurance messaging all the time on TV. So people have got shopping always at the top of mind. And our value prop is, we don't really care one way or another what carrier you go with, as long as you could save money or protect your family better. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, and it's one of those things now where, and it's nothing to be embarrassed about, because there's companies that are helping people during this time, right? And if there's, a company like the Zebra that could help people compare different auto insurance companies and help them save money when money is really much needed to be saved right now. Or as you said, Ryan, home insurance, where it's like, oh no, what if something happens in my home during this time? What if I can't keep my home? What if something happens, life insurance? I'm not sure you guys are dabbling into that. Maybe that's on.
Yeah, not yet.
Not yet, maybe in the roadmap, but yeah, it's nothing to be, embarrassed about. Not that you are, but there's some companies that are helping during this time, and the Zebra is one of them. So with that, you went from working at companies like Geico, Esurance, and now they're almost like customers of yours. What did you say? Like they're on the platform. How has that transition been? You're on kind of the other side now.
Yeah, so it's been interesting because, yeah, for sure they are customers of ours. They're our clients. We make money from delivering them customers that sign up with their insurance policy. So yeah, we love our carrier relationships. We have very tight-knit relationships with them. But yeah, it is a little interesting because my role here, let me back up a bit. My role at the carriers was more to just spend money and get policies. So my main metric there was cost per policy sold, basically. Here, it's more about return on ad spend, or like I said, what we call ROMI. So there's a bunch of intricacies in the business now that is probably my biggest learning curve coming to this marketplace instead of just selling a product, because we don't really sell anything. We just basically guide consumers and get paid for kind of brokering that transaction.
Mm-hmm. And for those of you who are probably going to be listening to this and maybe are not going to see the video, you're like, what do you guys keep talking about ROMI? Ryan has a shirt on. It says, ROMI is my homie. Yeah. That's the shirt. And that's for Custom Ink, your old company there.
That's from Custom Ink. They do a great job, high quality stuff. But yeah, this is my team's mantra. So our first marketing offsite, I had all these prepared for them and handed them out, and now you see them in the office all the time, which is great.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I'm an extra large. AJ is what? I don't know, a large, a medium?
Large is good.
Large.
Trying to get to medium.
I've always been an extra large. I'm trying. I like to stay at an extra large. There's no way I'm going down to a large or medium. Not with these shoulders.
It's your pandemic size and pre-pandemic size.
Exactly. That's awesome. But Ryan, let's get into some of the nitty gritty on. You touched upon it, and this is the marketing stir. We like to get down to it. what are some marketing tactics that really, really work for you? What are some tactics that just didn't work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I joined in 2017, everything we were doing was digital, very, very performance-based marketing. Um, Largely that spend was going towards affiliate type deals. So very like cost per acquisition type deal. And those are all well and good for a certain purpose. You know, if I'm looking at my return on ad spend efficiency, those can definitely work well. But with affiliates, as the listeners probably know, sometimes you got to look out for like shady marketing tactics. And it's very prevalent in the auto insurance industry where you'll see ads like you could, this one weird trick at the DMV can save you money on insurance, or if you're 65 or older, did you know you could get a senior citizen discount? A lot of that stuff, which is not even true. But we were playing in that, and I didn't like the feel of that stuff. And we were trying to grow a brand and not be like all the other aggregators out there. So we kind of pulled back from that. We leaned into paid social a lot more. We leaned into SEM a lot more, which is tough because we were competing basically with the Geicos and Progressives, and their CPC payouts are a lot higher than ours. But the biggest shift that we had, and that what really propelled the business going forward, is our investment in TV. So we started doing TV in February of 2019, and it was just a little $200,000 test, which is nothing on TV. And we said, we're going to see what happens to the business. And as soon as we turned it on, we saw such a halo effect. We saw our SEM brand go up. We saw our type-in traffic, direct referral, people type it into Zebra. We saw those numbers go up. So as we kept seeing good results on that, we've been pouring more and more money into TV, and branching out too from linear only to OTT. So we've been on Hulu and Pluto and Roku, dabbling into some unwired TV. So that has been really moving the business forward. And we even validated it too a couple of times. Like, does this look real to us? Like, the more money we pour in, the more revenue we're getting. And so we've been tracking like the diminishing returns of it, and we haven't even come close yet, even with our spend going up, 10x from our original test. And then we also verified it. We do a bunch of verification things just to make sure. It makes me sleep better at night. We did a dark test where we actually pulled off TV for 2 weeks to see what was truly incremental to the business. And sure enough, as soon as we hit pause on TV, we saw all those channels kind of dip again, and the revenue went down. So TV's been the big game changer for us, and that's been a lot of the focus on my end. Again, trying to get more of a brand awareness out there too. I love how TV, it could serve two purposes. If you're buying direct response TV, you could get sales overnight, but it builds brand over time.
And Rand, for kind of the measurement purposes, is there an easy way to measure linear or connected TV, or is it more kind of an aggregate number is how you measure the effect?
Yeah, so with TV, it's interesting. We partner with a company called TV Squared, and basically what they do is called burst or spike measurement. So we get all the post logs from all the networks. So every single commercial we ran, we load that up in TV Squared, and TV Squared links up to our Google Analytics. So we know when a spot ran, what network it ran on, the creative that ran, and we can match that up to see a spike in our Google Analytics. And then we measure that spike over a baseline. So we know that any incremental spike, we can attribute that to TV. So it's not perfect, but directionally it's very, very accurate. In fact, I think we actually look at it in a very conservative way, because we've got a 5-minute window on that. So as soon as that spot airs, if you're not coming to our site in within 5 minutes of that, it doesn't take credit for it. But that's how we do measurement. Going forward, we'll start looking at even deeper measurement. Right now, the TV we buy is mostly direct response, so we care about that immediate cost per visit or cost per quote on our end. But we're going to be advancing our TV measurement skills going into 2021, looking at more of like reach and frequency as we try to build the brand more.
That's great. Yeah, I actually knew little to nothing about TV until we bought our connected TV DSP product, and now we're doing millions of in kind of connected TV impressions. I'm trying to learn myself as quickly as possible. But
Yeah,
luckily,
yeah, with the connected TV stuff, and since they've got IP addresses, it's getting a lot easier.
right.
So yeah, if we were doing TV 10 years ago, I have actually no idea how they measured it besides probably doing spot market tests.
Right. So Ren, what does your kind of marketing tech stack look like? Do you guys use an outside agency? Are you doing things in-house?
Yeah, so as a startup, we haven't had a ton of money to invest in big marketing tech stacks. So what we do, and actually one of our core values is kind of like be scrappy. So we built pretty much everything in-house for the most part. I think we're at the pivotal point in our business where we'll outgrow some of that stuff. So we're definitely considering like buy or build in the future. Most of the stuff we do now is CRM-based type segmentation. So the carriers, they love consumers that are own their house and multi-vehicle and high credit, because their loss ratios will be lower, premiums higher. So with our marketing, we got to know how to attract them and right price what we're paying for them. As opposed to a single car, single driver, maybe doesn't have insurance right now. So that's kind of the extent of what we do in terms of like segmentation. And again, most of the stuff that we have right now is proprietary. As we get a little bit more advanced with our digital chops and getting into programmatic, we'll be looking at linking up. We've got an internal DSP right now, but we'll be looking at advancing that with a DMP. Especially it's going to be super important when we start talking about our home product. We launched our home insurance product in December of 2019, and a DMP and some advanced technology with that stuff is really going to help us cross-sell and auto-sell. Look back at our old auto consumers and say, hey, we know that you own a home, check us out. We've got a bundling product coming out too. So you can save if you buy both policies with us, you get a discount. So as we start and slice and dice our consumers, the technology stack is definitely going to be something that we're investing in going forward.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. You guys are doing all of this in-house. We've seen a lot of large retailers kind of using multiple agencies and data companies to make that happen. So pretty impressive, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I always keep an eye on my working versus non-working budget, and that ratio, trying to keep that ratio in check.
And Ryan, I want to touch upon this because we're ending 2020 very soon, and before I get into kind of what are some of the plans for 2021 with the Zebra, let me back up. The name. Where's the name the Zebra come from?
Well, the Geico was already taken. The gecko was already taken.
The gecko, yeah.
Yeah, the gecko was already taken. There's hippo out there. There's elephant. So we just picked one. No, I'm just kidding. So the zebra was spawned out of the idea of, why is there not a good insurance comparison website? Why is there not like the Kayak, the Expedia for the insurance world? And so the name, the Zebra, basically comes out of the idea of like, let's make insurance black and white. So very simple, easy to understand. You can compare things apples to apples against multiple companies and simplify it, because a lot of people don't understand insurance. So it's our mantra to be like an insurance advisor, help people and make things simple for them so they can make a better, well-educated decision on a financial product that, it can protect your family and a lot of unforeseen expenses down the road should you have an accident, God forbid, or something like that. So that's where the zebra came from. We haven't really pushed too much on using an actual zebra until recently. Our last creative round of TV ads, which launched in July, we actually show a zebra in the ads now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's your commercial. The TV is how I first discovered the zebra. And I remember you and I talking about that. That's kind of how this all started, right? At least for
Yeah.
us,
Yeah,
And
it's wild how many times people, especially candidates that I hear of, I'm always curious, like, how did you hear of this little startup in Austin? They say, oh, I saw a commercial and I thought maybe you might be hiring. So it's interesting. The other interesting thing about TV is going to your point, kind of, instead of never hearing us, our aided awareness a year ago was about 8%, and now it's up to 20% as we ramped up to TV. So now 1 in 5 people, when you at least present, have you heard of the zebra? They say yes. So it's really interesting. And it's when I talk to strangers, meet strangers, I just anecdotally, like, it keeps going up. Like, yeah, I have heard the zebra and I've seen your commercial.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And more of the clients we're talking to, and also the guests on the podcast, they're, making an investment in TV, I guess, because people are at home, they're binging, they're watching. It's a really great way to reach them. We'll get into some of the shows you've been binging in a moment, but touch upon that, 2021, Ryan, some of the new services, new products rolling out. What's 2021 looking at? Have you already looked into that?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely discussed that. In fact, we had a board meeting earlier this month, about 2 weeks ago, to discuss what are we going to do for 2021. Again, I actually don't even call us a startup anymore. We're kind of emerging out of that startup phase, in my opinion. I mean, we've built a pretty robust business, and our revenue numbers will tell you that. So 2021 is going to be an interesting year. We're going to invest more into brand marketing, even more. So that shift of brand marketing versus performance is going to shift a ton. We're really trying to build a brand. We've got a few of competitors out there that kind of do the same thing, but not the way we do it. And so we're investing in the brand. We want to be more of a household name. We want, when people think, how can I save in my car insurance, they think of the zebra first. So more TV to come, more podcasts to come. We haven't dabbled too much in terrestrial radio. We'll be looking into that. We've even kicked around ideas of like some sponsorship stuff too. So on the marketing end, it's going to be super interesting. It's going to be super high pressure on my end, but that's fine. That's why I built a very capable team. In terms of products that we are going to market for, home is still a big one that is largely unmarketed at this point. But what's really going to be interesting is when we launch our bundling product in early Q1, which will allow people to buy home and auto from us, same place, and get a discount for having the multi-policies. That's a huge undertaking. Our competitors don't offer a bundling product. And in fact, when you look at, as I mentioned before, like the more preferred type user, one of the things that they won't go to individual carriers for is because they don't offer a bundling product. They want everything all under one umbrella. They don't have to talk to carrier Y and carrier B about like, how that works. And they want the discount too. So if we could offer bundling opportunities for consumers, regardless of what carrier it is, and save them money even more with that discount, it's going to be a huge win for us. So we're focusing on that too. After we get that done, what's next for us? And we've considered what's our next vertical. So we're looking at things like renters, like life, like pet insurance. So those are all, we've got a great research team that has been helping us kind of size the market on that and see what we could penetrate the fastest and what will get us like the most bang for our buck.
And what are some of the tips, since you're an insurance man, that people should keep in mind when they're looking to buy insurance?
Well, my first tip is to go to thezero.com and shop around, where, come to one place and we do all the shopping for you instead of going to 8 different sites and trying to compare everything apples to apples and making sure the coverages were aligned. My tips, I mean, honestly, everyone wants to save money on insurance, but it's not always about that. It's also about the coverage you get. And you want to make sure that you're protected, especially you have like teen drivers, for example. That's always something you got to watch out for, since the teen driver loss ratios are pretty high, as you can imagine. Some of the tips are, look to bundle for discounts for sure. One of the big rating factors is number of miles driven. A lot of us aren't driving many miles right now. So as long as you put that pretty low, that'll change your rate. The less you're driving, the less chance of you getting in an accident and having a claim. It's always a good one to look out for. And always keep an eye on your deductible. So if your car is getting a little bit older, you could drop that deductible and it'll save a ton of money. Or if it's a brand new car and you could afford it, raise that deductible up to $1,000 from 500 or 250. That'll probably save you close to 10 to 20% on your premium.
And then, like most things, like Blockbuster going away, do you see kind of insurance agents becoming a thing of the past as companies like yours start becoming more popular, or do you see a place for those guys still where people like to go in and still talk to a insurance agent?
Yeah, in terms of the market now, there's definitely still a need for the local agent. You can see State Farm, that's basically their motto is like they've got, we're your neighbor. So there's definitely still a need for that. The agency side of the business has been slowly declining. I mean, Geico is direct, Progressive is direct, even though Progressive does have an agency arm. Esurance and most of the other startups are direct. We work with both. So it depends what you need. It depends what you feel comfortable with. As you can imagine, millennials, for example, don't really want to talk to anyone. They want to transact online, and that's it. Whereas the older folks, a lot of times they know someone down the street, or they've been working a family friend for a while. So I think that is going to still be around for a while. But I think as the millennials grow up, and then more direct to consumer insurance companies come out, I think that will slowly phase out, but yet we're not quite there yet.
And yeah, like me in my 40s, I don't own a car, but I have homeowners insurance, and that's Bob. Bob is my agent. I still go there, but now as even people getting older, it's like now just a time factor for me. And I'm sure my insurance agent, Bob, doesn't listen to the podcast, but I feel like myself going more towards digital, 2 kids at home where I'm like, I don't have time for this. Let me just do it. And the bundle thing is huge. If you can get it all under one roof, you don't have to talk to 5 different agents. Like, where am I going to get this time to call? I've got to burp my 5-month-old. I don't have time. Anyway, but Ryan, as far as, thus far in your career, this is where we get into some of the career questions. And then I have, some personal questions coming your way. Just want to prep you, right?
Okay.
We're people. After all, we want to get to know you. So thus far in your career, what has been some advice that you received that you're like, oh, this is great, I'd like to share this with people?
Yeah, so I had a very good boss at Geico when I was first starting out, and he really taught me a lot about relationship building. And so we work with a lot of agencies, and I never want to be the difficult client. I don't think that we get our best service or best we can't negotiate to if we're not managing the relationship from both sides. So I think that relationship building is super key, especially in my role where I'm out there spending a lot of money, and I could be negotiating better if I just have a friendly relationship for someone. And I know I'm going to get their A team, for example, if I'm talking to someone and I need more help with the analysis, or I need more help with the media buying. So just like building those relationships, I think was the biggest thing I learned. And then something that always stuck with me as a marketer is when Ted Ward, who ran the marketing department for, I want to say, over 25 years and is super well known in the industry, really put Geico on the map in terms of creative and growth. He always told me, I think I even might have alluded to it earlier, sales overnight, brand over time. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to go out there and start doing a lot of branding messaging without getting a return immediately. So that's the way I've kind of like shaped my career. Is like I'm looking at the day-to-day, making sure my return on ad spend is good from a day-to-day basis, but still getting the messaging out there, because over time that brand will come. That's always been like kind of the mantra I've lived internally at least. And I've tried to tell my team that too, because we do have a lot of branding goals coming up, but we still need to see an impact from those, or we're just likely wasting money.
No, I like that advice. That's something we haven't heard specifically on the marketing stir before. Before the personal stuff, I wanted also talk to me about international. Does the Zebra serve international markets of people who are looking for insurance as well?
Not at this time, no.
Not at this time.
Yeah, we're focusing on the U.S. We want to get our product right. We think we kind of really made some strides with the auto product. That's sound. Home is next. And again, we're going to look into more verticals domestically before we think about international. The international laws are a lot different than the U.S. ones, so that take a lot of scoping.
They sure are. Yes. We deal with that a lot too, and navigating those walls data wise as well and compliance wise. Great.
So, Ryan, how do you guys kind of keep in touch with clients? What does the cadence look like? Because often I'm guessing once people buy a policy, it's not like getting a haircut. You can't really go back to them every month. So I was curious about how you manage to kind of stay in front of clients.
Clients as our customers that use the Zebra,
Right.
or clients as the carriers?
The customers that use it.
Yeah, so right now when a customer comes to us and they buy through us, largely that's a bit of end of transaction. And so that consumer is now owned by that carrier. That carrier doesn't want us to remarket to them. They want to keep them on their books. So it's a little bit of end of transaction, but it's a great question you asked, because we are looking to be more of an agency, an appointed agent of certain carriers, where we would actually own that book of business. We sell to that person. We could cross-sell, upsell to that person. We would have to do our own retention efforts. So that's coming. That's a little more complicated because, again, there's insurance appointments and it's a bunch of legal stuff that has to go back and forth. So right now, our website's very transactional, but in 2021, it's become much less transactional, and there will be a lot more communication with the consumers directly.
Gotcha. Yeah, in our experience, data is invaluable. So the more companies can do to hold on to their data and have a direct relationship, the more valuable it becomes.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And then how are things going in the pandemic for you personally? Any new hobbies or interests you've picked up?
Well, I guess I can't complain. Things are good. The weather's finally turned around in Austin. It's funny, the leadership team at the Zebra, we did Myers-Briggs, and I was pretty heavily extrovert. And it's been a little tough for me because extroverts get their energy from being around people. And so with me not being around people, it's been tough. So a lot of Zoom happy hours and Zoom meetings. It's all fun. It could be draining, but it's been fun. That's kind of keeping me going. But personally, things are good. Most of my hobbies lately have been around my house, basically. So I bought a house not too long ago, about 6 months ago.
Nice.
And yeah, so it's like, what should I plant in the yard? Should I stain the deck? I recently got a hot tub / pool, so I'm setting that up. Yeah, I don't know how long this thing is going to last. So I'm trying to make my house as livable as possible. I made this is my office here. I know listeners can't see this, but I have an office I built, and then I also built a home gym. So that's been keeping me busy.
That's awesome. Well, congrats on the house. That's great news.
Yeah, thanks. I guess I'll be in Austin for a while. So
that's it. Austin's, I love Austin. I visited a few times. San Antonio, I'm getting used to as well. I like San Antonio. I've been there a few times visiting the crew. So you're, definitely in a good place. So Ryan, the question we ask all of our guests, this is around LinkedIn. Everyone uses LinkedIn, right? You're a senior vice president. People must be reaching out to you all the time. They're always reaching out to my CEO here, Ajay. What is a LinkedIn message that gets Ryan Hartman to say, okay, I'll get back to you. I'll accept your request. And what is a LinkedIn pet peeve that you have?
LinkedIn. I get my activity on LinkedIn is pretty high. I get a ton of connection requests a day, as you can imagine. I have one specific example. I'm a huge Virginia Tech Hokies fan, and a person reached out to me and he said, "Go Hokies," in just the email. So I was like, "What is this about?" So I clicked it, opened it, and he had a bunch of information. He's like, "I see your team's doing really well this fall." Blah, blah. And he got into it kind of like personal, and then and then he kind of gave me his sales pitch. But I thought that was so interesting and a good way to get my attention. So I definitely followed up with that person. So anything that's like personalized, that usually it shows the person put in effort and they're just not blasting a bunch of people on LinkedIn. So if someone puts in effort, I generally give them a look. The one thing I hate, so I actually don't mind when people just blindly LinkedIn me, because sometimes it's interesting. I like to see what's going on, what kind of companies are out there. Could I be partnering with someone? But one thing I hate though is when I don't respond, they follow up like 18 times afterwards. Yeah, so the persistence is not going to get me motivated to talk to you. So if I don't respond and like after 3 or 4 messages, I'm probably not going to. And at that point, you're just going to be an annoyance, and then I'm going to have a negative thoughts about your company probably.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point, Ryan, because, and I think there's different rules, right? I think someone was mentioning on the podcast that a business to consumer relationship often takes 7 times of like maybe seeing the apparel, seeing the messaging in order for someone to react. I'm not sure that that is the same on a B2B relationship or just trying to get attention. That's the main thing we get on the podcast when we ask that question. AJ, if someone were like, "AJ, you haven't responded. What happened? Did like a shark eat you or something like that?" I'm like, really?
I
don't
think
know.
over time, salespeople are getting lazier. So everybody's using SalesLoft and a couple of those tools. So it's just on an automatic cadence. And it's so rare, to Ryan's point, for somebody to send an email that's actually personalized, that you want a response, because even if you're not interested, you're like, I should respond to this guy who took time to write this email to me.
Yeah, exactly. And the other bad thing is when they're hitting you cross-platform and there's like they're emailing you, following up on my LinkedIn conversation, and they're picking you up again on LinkedIn. It's like, you just talked to me 2 different ways on 2 different platforms. Like, relax.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. And another question we ask, sort of the pet peeve thing, is just a marketing pet peeve in general. That was kind of LinkedIn, a marketing pet peeve.
Marketing pet peeve. I've got a bunch.
We still have some time. We have a few minutes. Yeah.
I would say the number one marketing pet peeve is too many cooks in the kitchen. So I think people always have like ideas for marketing, even though that's not their discipline. So you should do a commercial about this, or the next commercial should feature this. Or so like a lot of unsolicited creative advice is kind of like my pet peeve. Some of the ideas, I appreciate them because sometimes they're funny, but they actually don't have like the research behind them, and they don't really realize all the work that goes into actually producing an ad and all the focus groups you do and the surveying, and like that's how we nail our messaging. So yeah, when it's too many cooks in the kitchen, especially on creative, that kind of rattles my brain. So that's the first one that comes to mind. But yeah, I could probably think of some other ones.
Yeah, we've had a few people with a lot of personal pet peeves. So
yeah, and I think our audience knows mine and AJ's by heart by now, and from all this. Yeah, the creativity one is funny because as people in the marketing stir know, I'm also a stand-up comedian here in Manhattan, and people always have a joke idea for me. And they're not comedians. It's like, you should put this in your skit. I'm like, it's not a skit, lady. I'm not on Saturday Night Live. Like, stop saying that. There's like, this happened to me. This was funny. I'm like, that is the most unfunny thing I've ever heard in my life, Fred. Why would you share that with me?
That's a great parallel.
Yeah. Too many cooks in the kitchen. I love that. That is a first on the marketing stir.
And then, Ryan, given kind of you're an extrovert working remotely, how are you keeping the morale up in your team? Any fun ideas or suggestions?
Yeah, I think our company has done a great job with it. We still do our monthly or quarterly all hands, so everyone gets on Zoom. It was the first two are a little clunky, but we've kind of nailed it down. So at least everyone gets FaceTime. We encourage everyone to use their cameras so we can see everyone. Um, our office on the east side of downtown, we used to have snacks and drinks and all that type of stuff. So we started shipping snacks to people. Um, so they get to pick their own now, so which is nice. And then the last all hands we did is we actually didn't really spend too much time on the business and like getting in the nitty gritty of like what are our challenges, what are our issues we want to tackle. It was more about celebrating wins. So during the I guess we're on month 8 almost at this point of being and working from home. There's just so much that we have accomplished with everyone working remotely. So we celebrate wins. Two other cool things that we have every Tuesday, we have Zeeb hangs where everyone could just go on Zoom and do like a little happy hour, or just chat with people. And for the life of me, I don't know what this program we use is, but it's like a virtual video game in some ways where you have your own avatar. And it's actually our office. So they recreated our office in some sort of like video game, and all the conference rooms are the same, and everyone could go and join. And you could like type people in their avatar and be like, "Hey, Tiffany, meet me in the camel conference room," or something like that.
That's cool.
So we've been doing a bunch of different things, and I think our morale is pretty good despite everything that we're going through.
That's interesting. Yeah, we have all sorts of channels now. We have Slack and Basecamp, so everybody's adding their own favorite tool into the company. So I'd love to know what that tool is when you find out.
Yeah, on Slack we also have a channel called Spread Joy with all like the negative stuff going on. It's like you go in there to share a picture of your puppy or a good article in the news or something like that. So that's been trying to keep in.
We have something similar. I think it's happiness. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we need. That's great. Yeah, those are some good tips out there for us and especially our listeners.
So Ryan, is the one advantage Austin traffic gotten any better in the pandemic?
Well, it's funny you asked that because when I moved here, everyone complained about Austin traffic, and coming from Washington, D.C., I thought they were all crazy. So the traffic never bothered me too much in Austin, but it definitely has been very light. So it's been nice when I have to go to the grocery store or do an appointment in the middle of the day. It's been super light, which has been refreshing.
That's funny. If I'm in Austin, or when I used to be, I'd try to leave by about 3:30. But I guess coming from DC, I can see why you'd feel that way. I usually just Uber in DC. There is no point driving.
Exactly.
Yeah, same thing in New York City. Your traffic, come on.
Oh,
yeah. We see your traffic in Austin, and we raise you. Yeah, we raise you 48,000 Ubers and cabs and going to the airport. Oh, but Ryan, we're just about out of time. We'd love to hear just some final thoughts from you, career advice, Zebra vision, final thoughts on some fun, whatever you'd like to share with us and the listeners one last time.
Yeah, well, I'm going to do a little sales pitch for us. I mean, the Zebra, we now work with over 100 carriers. We are in every state. We work with 10 of the top 10, so all of the major carriers are on our platform. We've done an incredible job with the product. It is super easy, seamless. You could get a quote under 2 minutes. Look for big things coming from the Zebra. Look for more commercials out there from us, more brand type initiatives. Again, we're trying to become a household name. And when you think of insurance comparison or even insurance shopping, you're thinking of the Zebra immediately. So look for more products from us. And our like North Star is to be that insurance advisor for you. So we're coming out with a bunch of neat tools that help you compare things apples to apples and give you coverage recommendations or savings recommendations, like maybe you should change your deductible, kind of like what I was going for. The one thing that Ajay, you brought up is about the agents. Insurance is super complicated. People really don't know what they're buying and what kind of coverage they even need. And so they rely on the local agent to say, hey, I think your family is best suited for X or Y. And usually the consumer just kind of says, okay, well, you're the expert. We're giving you a platform you could come in and kind of decide by yourself, but using us as like an advisor. We think you should do this, check out this too. And again, we have multiple companies and providers where you can mix and match things. So it's really custom tailored to you. So yeah, I'll leave you with that. Come out and check the zebra.com out. It's thezebra.com. Don't go to zebra.com, thezebra.com. We'll help you out.
Well, that's awesome. You did it for me. I was going to do it, but I'll do it again. Thezebra.com, Senior Vice President, Paid Media at The Zebra, Ryan Hartman. Ryan, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for joining us on the Marketing Stir. We really appreciate it. I have been Vincent Petrofessa. That's Ajay Gupta, Ryan Hartman. This has been the Marketing Stir. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Stir podcast by Stirista. Please like, rate, and subscribe. If you're interested in being a guest on the podcast, email us at themarketingstir@stirista.com. And thanks for listening.